Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
Okay, so this was actually the server which I now terminated. This was running in Ohio region. Okay, so please make sure that you are in North Virginia. Okay, uh, okay. So two things. One is the S3 lifecycle policies, and we need to talk about the EC2 user data, how it is used. Okay, and then we'll proceed with the other topics. So I'll go to S3. And we created this bucket yesterday. So we have seen the various properties at a bucket level. Now you are all aware about versioning, server logging, static website hosting, object level logging, which basically is through CloudTrail, where it logs the API calls. Okay. Then we discussed about the permissions, bucket level policy, CORS, and access control lists. Now I'll go to management. Now here, there are a lot of things. We'll not be discussing analytics and metrics, etc. What we'll be discussing will be lifecycle policy and replication. So what is the lifecycle policy? So yesterday we have discussed in the storage classes something called as Amazon Glacier. So that is basically a archival storage. And when you need to store data at a lesser price, but the data need not be online, then AWS, the Amazon Glacier service is used. Now on a bucket, you can set up some lifecycle rules. So that say, I have a bucket, I keep uploading files on that bucket. And now after 60 days, I want that data to be moved to Amazon Glacier to save on cost. So that rule I can set it up in terms of lifecycle rule. Okay, so I will just show you an example. So let me just create a rule. So test 1, 2, 3, and now so apply to all objects in the bucket. That is what I want. And next, since this bucket has got versioning enabled, so it is asking me this rule should apply to current version or previous version. So I'll say current version, and then I can add a transition. So object creation, transition to standard IA after how many days. So I will just say transition to Glacier storage class after 60 days maybe. So I will just transition to small objects to Glacier or Glacier Deep Archive will increase cost. So I'm okay with that. And let me just put it as 60 days. So this is related to the markers, delete markers. I'll just go ahead with the default options. So I have set up this rule. Okay. Now what will happen is after 60 days, if when the object is created after 60 days of that, it will be automatically moved to Glacier storage class. So you need not have to worry about the data. Data will be intact. Only thing it will be offline. And when you need that data, you can actually, when it moves to Glacier, you have an action. So in that you can raise a request to restore it back. Okay, so it will be restored to your bucket. That is the way the lifecycle policies will work. Another thing is about the replication. So what you can do, yeah, any questions? So suppose you have buckets in one region, and now you want to have a copy in another region. So, please go on mute. He's not speaking. Okay, thanks. So if you want to develop a DR, kind of a storage DR in terms of S3 bucket in another region, so that you can do it through replication. Okay, so what you can do, the bucket has to have versioning enabled. So keep this in mind. On whatever bucket you are doing the replication, the versioning has to be enabled on that bucket. Now, suppose I want to set this up. Say my bucket is in North Virginia region, and so destination bucket I need to give. um, so the replicate objects across buckets in different regions, or you can replicate objects across buckets in the same region. Okay, so I can give the bucket name. So I can say create a new bucket. Bucket name will be something like fidelity 1, and I will select some region, maybe uh, Ohio region. Okay, and then storage class. So change the storage class for the replicated object. Destination options, standard storage class, and I will say next. So what will happen once so there is a role, enter the name of the role. I will say create a new role, and I will suggest 1, 2, 3. I will come to this. What is the necessity of a role here? So I will say this. So what I've done, there was a bucket Srikant Fidelity in North Virginia region, and I have set up a rule of replication to another region. So when you set up a rule, and after that activity, when you try to upload any objects to the source bucket, those will be automatically replicated to another region, because my bucket is in another region, US East Ohio. Okay, so that is how the replication will happen. So with the help of this, you can set up the what you can say a DR in another region. Suppose one region goes down due to some disaster, you have the data in another region. Okay? That is how it is. Okay. Any questions on this to life cycle policies and the replication?
Srikant, can you go to that Ohio region and show the replicated
Yeah.
bucket?
Yeah. So what will happen is, so I need to, so actually what has happened, yeah, this is in Ohio region. Now what has happened, I have set up the rule. Now what will happen, I need to upload something here, because the existing files will not be replicated on its own. So once the rule is set up, then it will apply to files uploaded after that. Let me just upload it. It will take some time to reflect, but it will be replicated. Let me go back here. So yeah, so this file got replicated. Okay, fine. So this is in this bucket. So this is in Ohio, and that is how you can have across region, DRSec, kind of a DRSec. Okay, fine. So that is about lifecycle policies and application. One more topic we will be discussing that is related to EC2. So yesterday we created a Windows server, we created a Linux server, and in the first hands-on exercise, what we did, logged into the server, and then we installed the Apache server and we created a home page, right? So yeah, by logging into that. So let me just one second. The page is loading. It's taking time. Okay, so I'll make sure that I go to North Virginia region. So when you actually create an instance, so this is my Amazon Linux, so T2 Micro, and when you scroll down, there is something called as user data here. So what is the use of this user data? This is called by different names. It is also called bootstrapping. Bootstrapping. So how you can use this feature is, uh, if it is a Linux server, you can write a bash script here. If it is a Windows server, you can write a PowerShell script here. So what will happen is, when the first time, only one time, when the instance gets created, the script written here will be run. Okay. So you can put it here, or you have it in a file, you can upload that file. So for example, yesterday we logged in into the server, and then uh, we installed HTTPD and created a sample index.html file. So all these activity can be coded here. So let me just show you this. So I can say yum -y install HTTPD. So Y flag I am giving because this is not interactive. So you don't have a chance to enter the option there, right? So I need, and so this is not interactive. So yum -y install HTTPD, and then I will say echo. This is testing, and I will use the redirection to create a file. Okay, so var www.html index.html, and then I can say service httpd start. So this is the same activity what we did by logging into the server, right? So that can be coded here. Now if I create this server, what will happen is, this will get installed, and the web page will be visible. Okay. So how this can be used? This can be used in multiple ways. Now suppose you have created an image. Yesterday we have seen how to create an AMI. Now the AMI, you have a custom AMI, and suppose that is some days old, and after that image was created, uh, there were some updates that happened in terms of the latest code was updated into Git repository or somewhere else, or NFS mount. So now you want to pull that code. So what you can do, you can script it here, and when the new instance comes up, it will take everything from the image, and whatever is the latest, it will pull in from this user script, user data script. Okay, so that is the way it is used. Okay, fine. So this will be executed only once, when in first time the server is created. Okay, after that it will not be executed. Okay, so that is related to user data.
If you
Everybody
stop
clear
server once,
about
then
how to use this?
yeah. If I stop server once, again if I start the server, it won't run, right? Only initial
No,
time.
only
When
initial.
I,
Yes. Correct, correct.
okay, thank you. It should be easy. It should be if it is Linux, it should be Bash, or
Bash,
can we use
Bash,
any other Python?
Bash script, Bash script, Bash script.
Can we use Python?
Python you cannot, because it will not understand Python. So if it is, I have not tried. I mean, I am not sure.
No.
If you,
Like before that, I can write the script, Bash script to install Linux.
so Python needs to
Python.
be. So what you can say, I have not tried, frankly, but as per the documentation, it is Bash and PowerShell. These are the two things which are supported. Okay,
That's
so you
fine.
can try
Usually I will
win
write.
Python 3
Uh,
and then give
uh,
Python command. I think it should work.
okay. Thank you.
Fine. So that is about the user data scripts. Okay, so now we'll go to the next topic, and that is about load balancers.
Shrikant, I have one more question.
Yeah.
Actually, I taken one image. Okay. So you written one script here to install the HTTP, and I taken image of that. I created one more server. Is it reflect there or not? Is script reflect there? Right? It should reflect.
No, script will not reflect there. So what you mean is
No,
you
like
have
HTTP.
an image.
Hmm?
No. So you mean, okay, so installing HTTP you are doing through user data. That is what you are saying. And after that you are creating an image.
Yes.
That is what your question is. Yeah, image will have the HTTP.
Yeah, that's what I was. Okay.
Okay, fine. Now, okay, so the next topic is about load balancers. These are called elastic load balancers. Elastic load balancers. Now, what are these elastic load balancers? These are the entities which are completely managed by AWS, and there are three types of load balancers which are available. So first one is the classic load balancer, classic ELB, as it's called. The second one is the network load balancer, and the third one is the application load balancer. Now the how classic load balancer works, it works at TCP layer, transport layer. Network load balancer also works at transport layer, and application ELB works at layer 7. So this is at layer 4, layer 4, and this works at layer 7. Now classic ELB, the difference between classic ELB and network ELB. So classic ELB, when you implement it, what you get is a DNS name, and this DNS name is given to you by AWS. Those who are not speaking, please go on mute. So DNS name is given, and in case of network load balancer, you can get a static IP or elastic IP. Elastic IP concept I have not explained. I will explain.
Shrikant, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you please mute everyone?
I think I need to do that.
I think Anil Anand is on mute.
I see everybody muted here. Yeah, I think this one. Now, classic will be classic AFB and network AFB. So, why there is so much delay? When you implement it, there is some issue there. I see a lot of delay in my voice.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. You can go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So these are the three types of load balancers. So what I was explaining was the difference between classic and network load balancer. Classic, you get a DNS name, and the network load balancer, you can get a static IP or elastic IP. Okay, so I will just explain what is elastic IP. The third one is, and the second, another difference is this is the bandwidth. So the classic load balancer is used for lower bandwidth applications. So the requests are within certain limit, then you can go ahead with classic. Network can to higher bandwidth applications. So if the number of requests are more, then you can go ahead with network ELB. Application load balancer, it works at layer 7. So only work on HTTP, HTTPS, and it is used for path-based routing. So what is path-based routing? Suppose I have a website www.fidelity.com/say mutual fund. I don't know whether you are in mutual fund business. Mutual funds and say DMAT. So these are the two paths. So what will happen is if the user puts this address www.fidelity.com/mutual funds, it will go to one of the EC2 instances and the traffic will be served from there. If it goes to DMATs, it will go to another EC2 instance and traffic will be served from there. So this is a path-based routing. This is not understood at layer 4. So it is only understood at layer 7. Okay. So that is why that is the main difference between application load balancer and the other load balancers. Okay. So now coming to what is a elastic IP and a static IP. Now yesterday what we have done when we created EC2 instance, we enabled the public IP so that we can log in to this server with the help of PuTTY, or in case of Windows we logged in through RDP session. So we enabled the public IP. Now what is the difference between a public IP and elastic IP? Functionally they are same, so they are publicly routable IPs. But a public IP comes from the public pool, and if you stop the server and start it again, the public IP may change. Okay. Now what is the elastic? Now this scenario is not very useful in enterprise applications if your public IP keeps on changing. So for that there is something called as elastic IP. So here if I see, I can, so it's a virtual entity. I can allocate the elastic IP. Suppose if I say allocate and network broader group, say allocate. So it will come to my pool. This is IP I have got. Now I can assign it to any other any instance which is running. Okay. So what is the peculiarity of this elastic IP? It will not change. So even if I stop my server, start it again, it is not going to change. It is a static IP. But in terms of number of elastic IPs, there is a limitation. So what is the limit? Per region, you can get 5 elastic IPs. This is for a normal account. For enterprise account, you can always talk to support and get it increased. But 5 elastic IPs is the limit. So when we were talking about the network load balancer, and we talked about elastic IP. So that is what the meaning of elastic IP. So it is, you get a IP in case of network load balancer, but you don't get any IP attached in case of classic load balancer. So what you get is a DNS name that will get assigned. Okay, fine. So we will be implementing one scenario, and we'll be using classic ELB, and so I'll just give you the details about the scenario, what we are going to implement. Let me mute. From where this voice is coming from? Yeah, this function. I mean,
Hey, Srikant, can you please mute from your end? Because even though it is mute,
this was you only. Okay.
I have one question, Srikant.
Yeah. So yeah, just go ahead. Who is
This
this?
is elastic IP. Yeah, this is Mohan.
Mohan. Yeah.
Yeah, this
Yes,
elastic IP and static IP is will be we will use will we use in application ELB? Shall we
Yeah.
use that?
No, application ELB will give you again a DNS name. So
Okay.
how you can map it is with the help of the service Route 53, where you can give your website name, say www.fidelity.com, and you can map it to the CNAME, or it is called basically alias name. That way you can do it.
Okay. That we will see in this, right? Now.
Yeah, I will show you. Not
Okay.
now. I will show you in the when we discuss about Route 53.
Okay. Sure.
Fine. Okay, so we will discuss the scenario what we are going to
Mute
implement.
Anil. Actually, you didn't mute him.
Yeah, I think
Mute him.
Anil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anil
so
Anand. You are asking something. So please make sure when you want to ask question, then only unmute. Okay, otherwise it becomes very difficult. Fine. So I'll just explain the scenario. So what we'll be implementing first is 2 web servers. So we will take a EC2 instance. Now all these things we are doing it in North Virginia region. Don't change your region. And so we are doing it in North Virginia. Now what we will do, we will try to create one EC2 instance in, say, one of the availability zones. I'm taking 1A. This is just an example. So 1A, and we will be using Amazon Linux image like yesterday. So we will be installing with the help of yum command the HTTPD.
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely.
And we'll create an index.html. The message what we are going to put is The message what we are going to put is welcome to server 1, and here welcome to server 2. So all steps will be carried out here also. We will try to put it in another availability zone, so we can simulate redundancy. Okay, so this is in 1A, this is in 1B, and we will put a message welcome to server 2. So it is a repeat of yesterday's exercise. Only thing is we are going to put 2 servers. Okay, so you'll have to put the security group rules accordingly, so that individually when I from my laptop, if I try to send the request, I should get this message welcome to server 1. If I try to try to send a request here, I should get a message welcome to server 2. After doing that, we will implement the classic load balancer. So it is a classic ELB. Tablet is slightly shifted. Okay, classic ELB, and then we will add these two EC2 instances under this classic load balancer. So the classic load balancer will have a DNS name. Okay, and the way the policy of any load balancer, classic network or application load balancer, is round robin, and this is by default, so you cannot change it. The round robin means the first request will go to this first, second will, so it will do it in a round robin fashion. So first goes here, second goes here, third goes here, fourth goes here, like that. So in a way, we get the load balancing, okay, across our EC2 instances. Fine. So that is how we are going to implement this scenario. So after implementing the classic load balancer from the laptop, I will send a request, HTTP request on this DNS name, and I should get 2 different responses, server 1 and server 2. So this we are doing for the demo purpose. In reality, these EC2 instances are exact replica of each other, so that the end user will not know who is answering the request. Okay, but for we should know how the traffic is flowing. That is why these messages are different, server 1 and server 2. Okay, so I'll show you this scenario, and once I have completed the exercise, then you can go ahead and do it. Fine.
Srikanth, can you please provide authentication to users, IAM users?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So given you access. Now this is the link. So you'll again, similar to yesterday, you'll have to log into the remote server and then take it from there. Okay, so I'll send you the link. Now I'll just set up this scenario, and then you can do it accordingly. Fine. So first, I'm going to create two servers. So let me launch first one. So let me make use of.
You can select at a time 2 servers, right?
I want to put them in 2 different availability zones. That is why I'm
Oh,
not doing that.
okay, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to select one A, and I will just say yum -y. See, this script doesn't require a sudo because it already has got root privileges. Go and I will say welcome to server 1. Those who are not comfortable in this method, they can create the server separately and then connect and do this. That's up to you. How do you want to implement? So install HTTPD go welcome to server 1. Hopefully this is correct. If you make any mistake here, it will not run and it will just go ahead. So hopefully this will work. HTML index.html. Fine. So HTTPD start. Fine.
Like should we need to provide sudo? Why? Because it will get
The
login
sudo
with
is not required. Sudo is not required here because this will have the root privileges. So no need to.
okay, then okay.
I'll just copy this so that in the next server I will just make use of this. No changes here. I'm just adding the tag.
So, so Srikanth, you have given that hyphen y to like give that yes in that this one, right? Like
Correct. That is a flag.
when
Yes.
you
So
perform
this
that
is
yum
not
command.
interactive.
Okay.
So you don't get a chance of you don't get a terminal no to enter anything. That is why.
Yeah.
Fine. So let me launch it and I will select the yesterday's key. Launch. Okay. Pending. Okay, this is running. Now let us see whether I am able to get the web page. Somehow this. Okay. Okay, so this is working fine. Let me just. What happened is this screen gets stuck. Okay. Continue with yeah. Fine. So let me launch another one. This time I am going to select 1B and I'm just trying to copy paste I'll just change it to 2 and go ahead.
So Srikant, like once you bring up the EC2 instance, right? Is there a way to kind of go back and check what we have written in the user data script?
Yeah, you can do that in the instance properties, but if you make any changes, those will not be effective. You can see that what you are written.
Okay, we can see that, right?
Yeah, you can see that. So here I am just creating new one, but you can always use the previous one, which you have already created, because the set of rules are same. So it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is server 2, which has come up, and let us graph this IP. So this is done. So I think you do this first, and then we'll move ahead with the classic load balancer. Okay. Can you complete this activity? Or you want me to complete the classic and then you want to do it at once too?
Yeah, we'll create 2 instances and then go ahead with load
Yeah,
balancer.
fine. Yeah. Fine. I'll just wait. Make sure you are in North Virginia.
If that script is failed, how will get to know?
Script, you want to see the script. Okay.
No, actually, I've written a script. It got failed, I think. So where I will get it? Can I get
Yeah,
in
you
logs
can,
or where I will?
you get it here. View change user script.
Hmm,
Okay.
okay.
So that doesn't matter. You just log in and give the command. So if this fails, don't worry. Just log in and do the yesterday's process, normal process.
Srikanth, can you paste that bash script in chat?
Script. Okay.
Thanks, Srikanth.
So those who have forgotten to name it can go here and edit it and put the name, proper name. This also you can do.
Shrikant, where you can get option to change region?
Option two.
Availability zone.
Option two.
Availability zone. To change the availability zone.
Availability zone. So in the subnet. So when you go here,
Yeah, got it.
fine. I think most of you have created the servers. Okay, so now on the left side, go to load balancers. Load balancers, you will see this. So this is a network load balancer. This is application load balancer, and this is they call it as previous generation load balancers. But for our demo purpose, this is fine. Functionally, they are same, so doesn't matter. So this is I'll just say create. Shall I proceed or you want me to wait?
Go ahead.
So this is a load balancer. I'll just name it. And currently we are doing it in default VPC. This is the only VPC which is available. Create an internal load balancer. We don't want it to be internal. We want it to be internet facing. So don't click anything here. Enable advanced VPC options is for custom VPCs. So, and what is the listener configuration? We are going to listen on HTTP and divert traffic on HTTP so that it will receive traffic on port 80 and forward that traffic to individual EC2 instances. Then we'll go next and I will try to create a new security group which will have the rule of 80 allowed. So I'll just let it create. So it'll give a warning because we are allowing on HTTP and we are just forwarding the traffic. Next is configure health checks. So what this is going to do is the classic load balancer is going to send the ping request to both these EC2 instances, and it is going to look for index.html file. So if it receives it, it will say it is in service. And these are the parameters related to that pinging. So every 30 seconds, it is going to send a request, and it is within 5 seconds, it should get a response. So 2 times if it doesn't get a response, it will mark it as unhealthy or out of service. And once it goes out of service, then it need to get 10 correct responses. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reduce this to 20 seconds to save time. Otherwise, we'll have to wait for a long time. Okay, so these are some parameters related to the health check. Now, next is add EC2 instances. So I will just click here, and I'm going to add my EC2 instances to this classic load balancer. I'm just searching for my instances. I got one. And second one. I'm seeing my second instance like that.
It's here.
There, no? Okay, this is the one. Okay. Now they are into two different zones. Purposely, we have done that. So instance one, US is 1A, 1B, right? So that is why we will enable the cross zoning. Enable connection draining is basically number of seconds to allow existing traffic to continue. So if one of the EC2 instance goes down, it is in the verge of going down, it immediately will not stop traffic sending it to that EC2 instance. So this is a buffer period which will continue sending traffic. So this is configurable parameter. For this, I will just keep it as default. And then you have a NAG.
Can you please repeat again? The 300 seconds is for what purpose?
See, if your EC2 instance is going down and load balancer has marked it as out of service. But what happens is there is some traffic which is already being served by that EC2 instance. So drastically, if you stop it, the user, see, if it is going down, means it may be due to overload or something has really happened. But till that time, EC2 is somehow working. So at least the existing traffic, the reply is allowed. Reply will be going to the user. So it's up to you. If you put it at 0, it will be not be sent.
So immediately it will get not responding. Notification will get, user will get that. Okay.
Review and create. Okay, successfully created. So this is my load balancer here, and now let us. So currently it is out of service because it is trying to send a ping request, but it is not getting. So at least it should get 10 correct responses. So for that it is ping. So after some time it should come in service. So let us see that.
Srikanth, where you defined it as a classic or the different types
in
of
the, yeah, here, create node. So I just created classic.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so that is my load balancer now.
Please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest.
Thanks for watching.